Today we're sitting down with designer and mentor Veronica Solomon of Casa Vilora Interiors.
Veronica shares how she's adapted her service offerings to meet clients where they're at with their budgets.
She reminds us that we can design our business however we want.
She also gives her advice on a listener question about seeing an increase in tire kicking from potential clients lately.
Let's go!
Hi, I'm Rebecca of Studio Plum.
And I'm Shaun of Renstead Interiors. We're interior designers
Turned internet friends.
turned real life friends.
Welcome to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
We're not that hot.
Or that young.
Every week, we'll be spilling the tea on how a new generation of interior designers can run their businesses.
Welcome to the club. Hey, Shaun.
What's up, Rebecca?
Just another day in paradise.
Living a dream.
Yeah, really feels like that sometimes. Just kidding. I'm just happy that it's fall, and I put on slippers this morning, which felt very luxurious in this California lifestyle.
For real, it's almost time to start breaking out like I call it my morning hoodie. Like when I wake up, as I'm like doing my thing in the morning, I have a little hoodie that I wear around the house. And
and you're like, white cardigan. I miss your little shawl.
Yeah, I don't have my like chunky cardigan to wear at my desk. When, like it gets cold sitting still at our desk a lot.
Your desk sweater.
My desk sweater. I do feel like that's kind of my Mr. Rogers thing is like sit at my desk. I know my arms are going to get cold because, the air is cooler in that. I mean, also, I have a heater. It's not like our house isn't heated, but there's that chill in the air.
And it just feels like a hug. Like, yeah, I'm here for it.
So I'm ready for that. I'm ready for it to be, we don't have to get totally into this, and this is not what our show is about, but we have these thin heater pads that go underneath our carpets. And we leave them there all the time, but it's a really thin
I've heard of those.
Fabric thing, and it just has a coil. And it's safe to be on like tile or wood or whatever.
I've heard of those, and they like heat the whole room, right? Kind of?
Yeah, it helps like radiate. I mean, we don't have heated floors, but it's nice we have ours set to a little timer. We of course have not been running them at all, but we can set them to a timer. So in the morning, like in the living room when we're sitting and eating breakfast or having coffee, you can set it to turn on at like 6:30 so it can start warming up and the carpet's nice and warm, and the dogs love laying on it because it's warm too. So
on their old bones.
I know, exactly. So that's kind of like, I love that stuff. I can't wait for that. It's still not quite. It was like 92 this week.
I know. It's still. I could do without the PSLs. Like, I do not care about that, but I'm just here for the cozy.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, should we hop into Fizzles and Sizzles?
Let's do it.
My sizzle, I don't know. I've had a lot of like kind of fun stuff happen this week, but since it's fresh in my mind, last night I started watching Emily in Paris.
I saw the preview.
I mean, it's kind of like a chick show. I don't know. You might like it. You'll like the Paris part of it, but...
Okay. Is it like Ugly Betty meets... But she's not. But it's like, I feel like it has that energy.
Yeah, like, kind of.
Fun, playful, nemesis.
Yeah, it's like a little bit Sex in the City without so much of the sex.
A little bit of Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah, and like it reminds me of, Darren Star is the producer and creator, but he it's also like Paris is like one of the main like components of it, like a character in it. So it's definitely like gonna give you like Wanderlust vibes. And the costuming's beautiful, and she's like a millennial kind of influencer type, so it's kind of funny, like the Instagram angle of it.
Okay.
And all the Frenchmen are like super gorgeous, and I don't know, everything about it. Yeah, it's just like total eye candy, like the whole thing.
Once a week, I say to Shaun, I miss Paris. Like
Oh, it's
it
gonna like
never, I
really
never,
make you sad.
it's, am like, if I'm trying to buy something from the bakery and nothing compares to a Parisian bakery, or, you see like a garden and you're like, oh, that kind of reminds me of that. Like it's one of those cities that you always think of once you've
Because
been to.
it's so specific. Yeah. So it's definitely like Paris is a major character in it, and they like hit all of the things that like you know and love about Paris, like
Sure,
the
they got some good
lingerie
tax
and
credits to film there.
oh, probably the dog shit on the street. Like every part of it like
Ah,
is like part of
à
it.
Paris, gay Paris.
Yeah. Um it's cute. So that was a cute little sizzle. It's making me happy. Um and sad. But and then fizzle, I thought like we were getting like kind of over it, but it just seems like the back orders and the things taking forever, it's getting worse. I don't know. I keep
Oh, it
thinking like
is.
we're gonna get over the hump, but
No.
no, the supply chain is whack. So
Well, and just like stuff getting through the ports is delayed.
yeah.
There's still delays in manufacturing overseas. There's still delays in manufacturing here. Like,
Yeah, it's definitely like I thought we were just getting the delays that overseas had earlier in the year and late last year, but it's still happening. It got, I guess, because like back
mhm.
orders are now going into end of December, which means they're not on a boat yet. So
Oh no. This is, I feel, gonna, I think we should be preparing ourselves that this is into next year. Like into this time next year, a whole year away.
right. So I've just got to like kind of work on my client communications spiel with it, because clients, like we've talked about it a little bit, like they're picking up, like so many people are investing in their homes right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I almost want to make like a document about it, like just start here. I mean, we can only do what we can do, and so many things are out of our control. And I still recommend placing the orders because you got to get yours. You got to get in line, but
Yeah.
just
I mean,
know
and
that things are
you
going to take forever.
sacrifice. It's just going to be a sacrifice, and the design is going to suffer a lot if you're making a lot of decisions based on what's available. It really starts to limit
Right.
what's possible with the design. You're not going to get as far with it. It's not going to be what you expected. And that's what I
And
really want to warn against for clients is
I'm
don't.
finding, so I guess like to add to that, like I'm finding the rug the rug is getting pulled out from even those. So like I've had an
Uh-huh.
instance or two, and I've talked to other designers who we order things based on them being in stock, and then we hear that they're not. So that's a real tough sell to clients when you kind of promise something and then have to take it away. So and there's just so
It's
many moving targets and like yeah.
Well, and projects are going to go on so much longer than we really wanted them to.
Right.
Like leading
Whether the
into that.
client's fine or not. Yeah, like I have a client that we ordered 2 additional chairs. They already have 6 of them in their dining room and they're fine. But she wants 2 more. So it's like this back order keeps getting pushed. It started, I think, in March or April. Now we're at the end of December, they told me, and who even knows? And I can't reselect. Like they're the same. They need the same
Yeah, they already
chairs.
have them. Yeah, no, it's it's getting really where at first people were like, "Oh, I get it. It's fine. Like there's a lot going on." But now people are getting so far removed, but like clients are getting removed from expecting things that they're just like, "Well, why doesn't everyone just have their shit together now?" And you're like, "Hold on. You have
Right.
no idea like what shutting the world down for that amount of time did. It didn't just delay it by, you know, the lockdown period. It tripled that. Like, we're still not anywhere near.
I know, and I guess I just want more information. Like, why is this happening? I guess would feel better, like more specifics. Um,
It would help if the
like,
vendors could say, this is what's going on with this item.
yeah, so like I can just feel a little bit more educated and not just like a dumbass who keeps screwing up. Like, we're definitely the messenger here.
Yeah.
Like I ran into a designer last week who was telling me I won't name the tile company, but she had ordered, gotten approval, made sure it was in stock, ordered tile for a bathroom. 2 days later, they told her it was in stock. 2 days later, the company said, actually, it's on back order.
God.
So she reselected, which meant she had to redesign the entire room because now
Uh-uh.
she needed a different countertop. So everything kind of shuffled around.
No.
Made sure it was in stock before she presented to the client, got approval. Exact same thing. 2 days later, they told her, actually, our system was inaccurate.
No.
Like,
It's
come
taking so much
on.
time.
And like, so the client's probably paying for that time and frustration. I think
Well,
she
yeah,
just
because
ended up going to a different company, but it's like, come on.
you've got to get your platform, your platform needs to be up to date. And that's, oh, okay. So
Like,
good
we
and
need
bad.
accurate information. Like, even if it's bad, like, it has to be accurate as to the
It
best
needs
of
to,
your ability. Like, come
it
on.
needs to be. We can't work like this. It's
So
just
that's
not going to
just
work.
freaking me out because it's not just furniture, it's like all materials. So it's like everything is just like shit just flipped up in the air and it's still not landed. Oh, that
I
sucks.
I don't love that. Um, I would say I would say I'm sorry, but I feel like we're all going through it, and so I feel like we're all just jumping in the lifeboat together, which is really sad.
I know someone needs to do like
Because
a
there is
TED
no
talk or
solution
something
yet.
on it. Like, we need to be able to, I just want to share a link. Like,
Well,
it's not my fault.
send them to the podcast. I
I know.
don't know. Like, in that vein, I'm really worried about that because I'm like bringing on proposals and things for projects, and I know that there's going to be some really long leads on this, so I'm trying to, like, fizzle for me is I over the over the last few days have come to terms with the fact that I'm really going to have to push out leads and start times on projects and really like double up my buffers instead of disappointing people. Is I have to, I mean, in between the planning stages, the concept stages, like those, I'm still going to need more time. And then the procurement stage and actual recommendations, like it's just going to keep getting longer. And so I have some things that I'm pulling for projects right now. And I'm like, oh, we're still like 3 weeks out from a presentation. Like all of this could be for nothing.
Right. That's the scary part.
And I want to be cognizant of how clients spend their money, but I do need to make sure that they're aware that there are big delays. And maybe I need to format some messaging and like load it into my proposal process at this point, because
Mm-hmm.
this is going to go on for a while of
Yeah, like I'm thinking like
here's what to expect.
a red box of like
Here's what
warning.
here's what everything looks like in COVID. Like make sure they know that this is like a specific time frame item of here's what we have already seen, and I want you to be aware, and if this concerns you, this unknown factor, you need to talk to me now, because there may be no way around it, and I'd rather we be completely upfront with it and give them like, what are some worst case scenarios? I ordered some tile and it didn't get here for 6 months. I ordered 2 extra chairs for a client and they're still being produced overseas and not going to be delivered for 9 months. Like that I feel like that would be okay to share.
Yeah, and some options are doing partial installs. Like it's not what we love to do, but if it gets them a place to sit down, it might just need to be that. So
Yeah. I mean, I
it
feel like
sucks.
partial install is definitely going to be a big thing. Um, especially as like you can gather enough stuff and hopefully they're not paying storage, at the receiving
It's just
warehouse for
risky
as
too,
long.
because like that whole concept of one item looking really out of place and then certain clients
I
overthinking and
know, I
questioning and not
know.
liking and yeah,
I mean,
so
that
it's
goes back
scary.
to you already bought it. It can't be returned. You need to wait for everything to be seen together.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say it, and it still doesn't, like, I still have clients who doubt things like that. So
So I think
I
it's
know what
like
that's like too.
us being just savvy about what's a risky thing to partially install, like two leather
Maybe hold
chairs or whatever. Sure, they'll not question those. So, but
Yeah,
maybe
but
like
maybe
a
hang on to the
bold
funky
rug.
ottoman. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
hang on to that stuff. I mean, it seems like that's just going to be a new normal. My good news doesn't feel as good by comparison to that, but I'm still happy about it. I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but I use my business PayPal account to accept payments through a couple platforms, and they don't have this option on their webs. Like, there's no easy way to do this, which is the unfortunate part. But I was able to set up auto sweep with my business PayPal,
Mm.
which means that every time payments come in by the next business day, it automatically sweeps the balance into my business checking account now.
Okay. Is that
So
part of PayPal?
yeah, it's part of PayPal Business, and you have to set it up with them. Um, I don't know exactly like what their approval process is, but they make it so impossible to talk to anybody. So I had to talk to a chat agent, and it took me. You have to wait for them to reply because, of course, none of their people are working like in at desks or things like that. So one time I got a response back in an hour, and then I replied back with another question, and then they had to reply back with their answer, and they have to activate something on their side. So don't go in thinking it's going to be like a quick call or a chat and then it'll just be done. It took a little back and forth, but my main goal was to not have to remember to go into the PayPal business platform and transfer over balances because that was
Yeah.
making me annoyed, and it takes time every time you do it and you're wondering where's that money. And I
Or
want to.
sometimes it's like, surprise, you have money. Like it
Yeah,
feels
and you're
like
like, oh
finding a
snap, like.
dollar in your pocket.
And that part is kind of cool, but I also just,
But
it's
not
so
good
much.
business.
It's annoying. Yeah, and I want to
Yeah.
be able to apply. I apply the retainer once it's received to the client's portal, and so I want to know that, okay, they did pay, it's done, and part of it being done is making sure it's in the bank account. So setting up the auto sweep for my business PayPal account is going to save me a lot of time, annoyance, and it's just one of those little things that I don't have to worry about anymore. And I'm completely here for that. Um, in the world we live in right now, like if I can get rid of any little annoyances, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So
That's
that
sizzly.
was
That's
mine.
money.
Yeah. I mean, the money was there, but now it's where I need it to be. And it also makes my bookkeeper happier too, because she's not going, where is that money, when she's trying to
Yeah.
reconcile stuff? Because she's looking at the PayPal stuff and going, yeah, but you never moved it. And I don't give her access to move money. So I still have to go in and do it.
Right.
So I'm psyched. That's one little win.
Yeah, I'll look into that. I didn't know that it even existed.
Auto sweep. It's a
Sweet.
good it's a good thing, as Martha Stewart would say.
Anything fizzly?
I think it's just that as you're talking about some of yours, and that the orders and all that process, I'm hearing it out loud and I'm like, yeah, this is going to go on for a long time. And I have projects where we're looking at furnishings and accessories, and I already know what it's going to be like. And I don't want that to be the reason that they don't purchase things wholesale. Like, I really don't want that to be the barrier to entry. It would be nice if I could still build in some profitability, even if it means there's a little more headache involved with some of it.
Yeah, but there's issues on retail side too. I
Oh yeah,
haven't
no,
done enough of it to like know how like widespread it is, but I was looking for accessories and everything was on back order
everything's on
that I
back
was
order.
looking for.
Retailers are also saying things are in stock when they are most definitely not, because they're everyone's afraid of turning away customers, but that's what's going to happen anyway.
Right. So being upfront means you're going to lose a customer and then you were doing the right thing and you get penalized for it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's kind of where our job is going to start to get a little bit harder here. I mean, it's not the it's a big part of what we do. This is why we get paid to take on headaches for clients, so they don't have to worry about it, but they have to be okay waiting. There is no such thing as like fast turnaround. I don't
Well, it's
mind.
going to be like the name of the game is going to be hurry up, make a decision. Like when the like when the proposal is presented, then it's going to be everyone needs to rush to
Yeah,
like secure something.
totally. Yeah, because my contract gives them. So if I'm presenting in person, they need to tell me right then. Um, but if I present it like through Ivy something and I send it, the contract gives them up to 5 days. But I've been telling clients since the beginning of this, you need to look at it daily. You need to check your messages from me daily, because this is a
Yeah.
moving target. So I don't think that everybody's completely figured that out. So it just, yeah, kind of reinforces how much more we need to do it.
Yeah, because the alternative is I don't know. Like I don't know how else to modify our businesses to like change our business models to accommodate this. I guess, yeah, ordering more retail items and kind of putting that back. So like almost e-design when it comes to furnishings and putting it all on the client and the retailer to deal with. Because otherwise it doesn't totally make sense.
No, but I
And I
also
don't know
think
what to
that's,
do.
I feel like that's also for the client who doesn't have the patience. Like, that needs to be really, like, for my e-design clients, I don't care. I'm like, this is what we looked at. If you want to resource something else that looks similar, you could do that on your own, but I won't be doing that here for you, and no big deal. But
I
for
guess
a
I'm just
full service
thinking
client,
like
I don't want to do that.
I have a lot of clients or not client a lot, but I have a lot of interest in some clients who are in the process of moving homes. So
Yeah,
they can't wait. Like they don't
they
some of
don't have
them don't
anything.
have the stuff. Yeah, so they can't just like add 6 months to their sofa timeline and be fine. Like they don't have, a backup plan.
I kind of feel bad, but then I
So,
kind of don't.
and that's where I want to know like I've had some custom upholstery go in back order.
Hmm.
Oh, I need more information. Like if I ordered from California or local upholsterer, would we still run into the issues? Is it like the cushion foam that's on back order, or is it the specific fabric of this manufacturer? I don't know.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Are we talking about basic materials? Are we talking about, like, we
Yeah,
don't
like
have
there's
all
a
the lumber for the
concrete
frame of a
shortage.
sofa? Like,
Yeah,
that's a
like
real thing too.
there's a concrete shortage that's happening for like a lot of landscaping projects. So is it something like that? Your specialty fabric that you order is
Ooh,
delayed. Oops, sorry. Is delayed.
girl, you having an earthquake over there?
Sorry, it's my hand.
Like rumbling everywhere?
It's like getting mad.
You're just like hitting the microphone like a boxing thing. I don't know what's going on. Everything is that it's just gonna suck for a little bit here. We're gonna get through it. It's gonna be okay, but it's kind of stinky right now.
And that's why we just have to go back to escapism in our TV shows that make us forget about it for a while.
Yeah. Or bank transfers. Like, cool. Um I'm psyched for our guest today. I think we had a really, really good conversation, and she's someone we've admired for a while.
Yeah, I talk about it in the episode, but I really was excited to talk about her. I got to meet her once in person at KBIS, not this year, but last year, and she's just so warm and friendly and super sweet.
Our listeners are going to love it. Our guest today is Veronica Solomon. Veronica brings over 13 years of expertise as CEO and principal interior designer of the Casa Vilora Interiors team. She is a design blogger and influencer and a business mentor to a community of over 4,500 interior designers worldwide. Her Jamaican heritage of staying grounded, hardworking, and dedicated to her craft not only shows in some of her colorful interiors, but also allows her to service her clients at the highest level of excellence.
Hi, Veronica.
Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Shaun. How are you guys?
We are making it. We're our new thing is we're the masters of time now. Like we are wrapping up The Big Leap. I don't know if you've read The Big Leap, but that's our new thing is we're like the masters of our own universe and our time now.
We're not complaining about it.
Yeah. We're making more time for ourselves. So thanks for making time for us to talk with you.
Thank you. It's nice to take a little break sometimes and talk to friendly faces. So I love that. Thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, you've been on our list from the beginning. Like, you've definitely been a mentor to me and being able to just learn from you. You're so generous with your thoughts and ideas and experiences. So we really want to share that with our audience, and we're really happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
Rebecca introduced me to your Facebook group, and then I'd realized like I had seen you and seen other interviews with you and like other posts and other features, and then I'm like, I already know her. But it just at first she's like, are you part of this Facebook group? And this was earlier in January of this year, and I was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, I'll add you. She's like, you're gonna like it. And I think something that stood out to me about what the things that you share is, and we can talk about it more in the episode, but it's more just like this generosity with your time, not only to help other designers, but the generosity of with your clients of taking the time to explain things, being available, being open with how a process works, and sort of getting rid of the mystery, whether it's in how to run the business or sharing with your clients how you can work with them the most effectively.
Yes. I mean, we're 5,000 members strong almost now in the group. So as you know, we share so much in terms of resources and experiences, the good and the bad. And I have learned personally, and it makes me so excited to share with others because I've done a lot of bad stuff in my career. I mean, I've said things to clients I probably shouldn't have, or I've, done it the wrong way, and, it cost me money. And as I've learned and put things in place, I thought, I'm going to share this with other people so they can avoid the crazy mistakes I made. So that's how my group was born, and it's grown. And a lot of people they're inspired by that. They come in and they're ready and willing to share things and talk about some of their crazy client experiences too. So we can all, do it the right way.
And you really model that. Like, I really admire the way that you, I don't know, I think I've posted before, like, you can get kind of mama bear on us. Like, okay.
Like, come on, guys.
Veronica's gonna lay down the law right now, but everyone needs to hear it. Like, it's not in a mean way. It's just like sometimes people need to hear the truth, or like the hard truth sometimes, or things that need to change or be done better.
Yeah.
And I think that's really appreciative. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to do that in the beginning. Like, I want everybody to like me and to love me and not think I'm like laying down the law. But I care too much about, my mentees and people who I know are seeking this out to just kind of let them get lost in the world of doing it the wrong way if I can help them out of it. So I learned how to be a little bit assertive. Yeah.
Yeah, you do it. I mean, you're never like rude or mean about it. I feel like everyone feels cared for in that group. And yeah, I always have this thought of being nice isn't always being kind, and there's a
Oh,
difference.
yeah.
So doing the kind thing doesn't always mean you're sweet and smiley about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can
Yeah.
be warm, but sometimes it's hard to hear.
Yeah. Well, it's the truth, right?
Yeah. Or just being told, like, why don't we reframe our thoughts around complaints or things that we like? It's okay to open up and vent a little bit, but if we're constantly dwelling on it, I've appreciated where you'll add your thoughts of, why don't we reframe this conversation? Is there a missed opportunity here? Is there a cue we're missing that we should be catching earlier?
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're just spiraling in
And take
the
responsibility, like, for our roles in it.
yeah, like, what can I change about what I'm doing to avoid this or make something out of it?
Yeah, and it's good that you mentioned that, Shaun, because for me, it's always that. Whenever something goes wrong, I always take that as an opportunity to reevaluate and reassess and see where I allowed something to go wrong, or where my contribution to that happened, and learn from it and try to not focus on the bad, but in the solutions part of it. So yes, I'll jump in and help reframe thoughts and perspectives and say, hey, this client may not be as bad. Why not see this as an opportunity? So, that opens up the eyes of other designers too, because, the red flag thing that we see a lot going around in the groups lately, and like, maybe it's not such a red flag. Let's explore this and see what good we can get out of this.
Yeah,
Totally.
I think we jumped ahead. So we should probably just have you start again by
We
having
know
you
you
tell
so well, but our
I
listeners
know.
may not.
Yes.
So
Okay.
can you introduce yourself a little bit more and do a quick background? We didn't do a good job of that.
Sure. So I'm Veronica Solomon. I've been in business for about 13 years. My company is called Casa Vilora Interiors. And Vilora is my middle name, by the way. A lot of people
Oh,
ask me
I
where
was
did that
wondering.
name come from. And so let's see, 13 years, went through some major struggles in the beginning. Did not really have formal design education. I dropped out of design school, and decided to kind of stay, get jobs within the industry so I could learn, and lost the very first job that I got working for a home builder. I wasn't even in a design capacity, but I was hoping to get into their design department. When the recession hit, I lost my job, and so I started a business in 2007. And I always forget, I have to like remind myself. And no money, hardly any money, just enough money to kind of launch the business. And yes, I had to kind of side hustle my business for a long time, and eventually kind of just figured it out by learning and doing things on my own and making the mistakes. And from there, I started just building one by, year by year, I'd see improvements in my business. And as I was learning, I was inspired to start teaching. So of course, I got into mentoring other designers, and from that, my business grew as well too. And so it's just been a passion of mine to not only do the design work and service my clients, but also to pass it along to other designers.
I love
I
that.
mean, to come out of that time of like 2007, starting your business, and then to watch all of the like then scariness happen, and to sit where you are now, to feel in a much more like confident and generous and sharing place, it just speaks volume to like your drive to succeed and to make it work for you and to not give up on it.
Exactly. I mean, giving out was not an option as a single mom with two kids. You always have to like think on your feet and figure out new ways of doing things and being creative. In fact, I just wrote in the group this morning that somebody was asking a question about marketing or something like that. And I said to them, you name it. Whatever you can name, I've done it. I've done every single thing. I mean, honest things, of course. But yeah, I mean, I was doing drive-bys to get addresses to send postcards to. I was doing networking locally and trying to meet people. I mean, everything I've done in my business. And so it was never in my thinking at all that this is never going to work. I mean, even when, it seemed as if it was so daunting and it would never happen, I just had to think about the two kids that depended on me to make this thing work. So yes, it was always a goal of mine to get to a point where my business could provide for my needs and live the lifestyle that I dreamed of.
And not work 20 hours a day
And
anymore.
exactly. Although people do think I work all the time, which I literally don't. I woke up, I get up every morning around 9:30ish, and
AM? That's amazing.
I mean, I sleep in pretty much every morning. You will never really see me make an appointment with even a client before 10:30 or so. Sometimes I do have to, but you know, ideally I'm making appointments like 11 o'clock onwards, and so my day starts out really late. But I do, you know, I work until maybe about 6 or 7 in my office, and then I go home, and I still do a little bit of work on the business itself. And for me, it's not really work because it's things that I enjoy doing, you know, like writing my blog or something like that. So I don't work all the time, but whenever I'm working, I make it count.
And your kids are older now, so they probably leave you alone. They're not jumping on your bed at 6 a.m. like mine is.
Yeah, but you're getting your rest too. Like part of that is like if you're fully rested and fresh to face your day with your clients, you're not feeling overwhelmed or anxious the whole day because you started on the right foot and you've made it work for the way that you know,
your
you
body
don't want to be
probably
a morning
wants to
person.
be your body wants to be calibrated to a later time of the day, and you've adjusted your schedule to that.
I've always been that way. I've always been a sleeping in kind of person. I'm not super like early morning, and so whenever I have to wake up early, I'm just like, oh my gosh, no. So
yeah, I don't like to wake up early or stay up late.
So you don't want to give up either side, Rebecca.
You can't have it both ways.
I know. I'm like a 10 to 10 person. That's like thing awesome.
That's your sweet spot. That's when you're going to create your best stuff, is like fully rested and able to like cut it off and not overwhelm your brain by doing it. I mean, I do think we're sold this idea or pressed this idea, whether it's a societal pressure or peer pressure, of like constantly being like productive, like doing things equals being successful. And then we've been sold this idea that, oh, you must have to work 70 plus hour work weeks in order to make success. And I don't really subscribe to that. And I feel
especially the entrepreneur story. Like, I feel like that entrepreneurship story we're sold is like, oh, this is your whole life.
Yeah.
And I agree with you guys. I do believe, though, that in the beginning, when you're trying to build a business, though, I mean, there has to be some sacrifices made, I think, if you really set goals and say, this is where I need to get to by this date. And sometimes that does require, okay, I'm going to burn the midnight oil every single night for the next year until I get this accomplished. But it should not become your life. You know, you should make time for other things, personal things, and, you know, hobbies. For me, my hobbies are still kind of tied into my business. I know, I need a life.
Yeah.
But so I enjoy that stuff, though, you know. So whatever you do, find enjoyment in it. I think so. You can even find that in your work. I think if you just find the right formula or the things that you enjoy the most and do that.
Well, we're the lucky ones that have been able to make our jobs the thing that we love and our hobbies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think one of the things that jumped out, like when I first met Rebecca and she was talking about the group and like something she learned from reflecting on your thoughts, Veronica, was sharing about the idea of meeting clients where they are. And can you share like your ideas on that and maybe like share that with our listeners versus us just like building off of it? I think it comes up frequently. It's a common theme for you in the guidance you offer to designers.
Right. So I built my whole brand around that, actually, because for me, design is more of a heart thing. I'm doing it obviously like every other designer, I think, because I'm passionate about it. I love it. But I also truly believe that design is for anybody who seeks it out. So I had to find a way to make it accessible to anybody without selling myself short. So basically that started out by creating different service options, for example, that would cater to the needs of, say, somebody who couldn't afford to hire me for a full service project, but they just needed my guidance with some consulting work or just help me figure out this. So I created a bunch of different services and I kept everything I call them at a high level, because I wasn't gonna say, hey, come come hire me with $5,000 and I'll give you a $50,000 living room. That wasn't going to happen. Okay. But what I do is say, okay, you have $5,000 to spend. Here's what we can do. You can hire me for, 10 hours. I'll come in and give you some guidance, help you figure out certain things, and then you can go implement that over time. And so there you go. You didn't pay me, $12,000 for design fees. So to me, that's meeting people where they are. It's not for the elite. It's not necessarily for people with luxury budgets. To me, everybody has their own version of luxury, so it doesn't have to have a dollar sign associated with it. So my goal was to bring that version of luxury to anybody who genuinely sought me out for it. So, I have clients who seek me out and they don't necessarily quite get it once I educate them, and therefore that person is not my client. So I make it a very big deal in the beginning to educate clients about what it takes to achieve what they're trying to achieve. And to me, that's what I do when I meet them where they are in whatever area they are in life, or budget wise, or even where they are in terms of their understanding of what interior design is. Because believe it or not, a lot of people don't really understand what designers do. So that's a big part
they
of
really don't.
Yeah.
Until they go through a renovation on their own and are like, oh,
this is where I could have used. I really could have used help to know like what's normal. What is this right?
Would have just saved me money.
Yes.
I also have heard you talk about when you do meet people where they are, or you've had like maybe a client who started with a low budget and later in life they've found you again and are ready to kind of move on up in the world, and they come back to you with bigger budgets and bigger lifestyles.
Oh yes, that happens all the time. And that's why, and I say this a lot, I treat every single client who seeks me out as if they're going to spend $1 million with me. Because sometimes, I've never really had a $1 million budget. So let's just put that out in the universe. We want that next.
Yeah.
But
it's coming.
It's coming,
end
right?
of 2020, 2021. It's the biggest one yet.
Like that after 2020, right? But I treat them all the same way. I mean, hey, you may not have the big budget that ideally we all want, but you still have value. You still are somebody who, took the time to invest in me or to seek me out. And to me, that's an honor. For me to put out my shingles and say I'm opening a business, and somebody then decides I'm going to hire that young woman, to me, that's wow. I mean, how could I not honor that? And so I don't look at, people with small budgets or they're not ideal and say, well, no, you're kind of not good enough to work with me. I try not to do that. Unless, like I said, after I've given them the education, they're resisting that, or they're thinking, oh no, I don't want to spend that for something that we've really realistically talked about. That's a whole other conversation. But if they genuinely desire to work with me, I'm going to make it happen as best as I can.
Yeah. It sounds like it's more about if they come and they have this grand idea and that just won't work with what they can accomplish, it's sharing, well, here's what we could do within that design budget or that project budget that you have in mind. And this is what the service might look like. Instead of it being full service, there might be fewer things I'm doing for you. So you're saving money and you're going to do some more. And I think Rebecca and I have gone back and forth on that of if it's about getting to a certain price point, it's also making sure that we're tailoring out things that maybe the client will do instead if they can't afford to keep us paying to do those things, and not being locked into a rigid package format, so to speak, where it's like, well, these things all have to go together. It's being willing to adjust those.
And just being flexible with your clients. And for me, I'm creating unique services sometimes just for that particular client. Whatever their need is, I kind of build something around it. But no matter what I do, I keep it very, very structured so they understand what they're getting. I understand what I'm getting. And so there are no, questions later on down the road. Everybody knows what the deliverables are and what the payments are and all that. Yeah. But to your point, though, sometimes I can even get clients to spend more money because they will come in with an idea of what they think something costs. And once you kind of sat them down and say, I know this is really what you want. I know you want this really amazing spa bathroom or whatever it is. And they'll say, you know what, it's worth investing in. So that conversation doesn't have to go the way where, okay, we're trying to accommodate a smaller budget. It could be, well, you know what, I'm willing to go, sacrifice something or whatever to get what I really, really want.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they start seeing the specifics, like, oh, this is the difference between marble and ceramic
Yeah,
tile.
Right.
exactly.
I get
But I
it.
want the marble. How can I make that happen, right?
I've
Yeah.
I've done that with a few clients where it's like, okay, I know money is an object, but like just indulge for a minute. Like if we
Yes.
could, like imagine if you were ready to invest 10% more, 15% more, then we could accomplish finishes like X, Y, and Z. And then sometimes that's what they need to know of like, well, what's involved with that? Like
Yeah.
if I'm going to spend 20% more and I'm going to get a custom cabinet, some clients will make that value decision of I'm willing to push myself out of my budget comfort zone to accomplish that because you're describing it and you're showing me what's possible and I'm sure it's going to be exquisite when it's done, but they need your guidance to help them feel like this might be
Because they
worth
don't
it.
know what they don't know a lot of the time.
Yeah, that is so
Yeah.
true. And I love that you mentioned that, because a big part of my the conversations I have at the consultation, I will literally ask the client to just like Shaun just said, kind of let's pretend budget wasn't an issue. What's the reason? What's the number one reason why you hired me, right? And really,
Mm-hmm.
a client hires us because they want things that they've never seen before, things that they don't know for themselves. They want that grand idea and grand vision that we bring to the table. And I will then say to the client, well, if you allow me to develop that grand vision for you, and let's kind of just imagine that budget wasn't an issue for a second, and I develop this for you and I present it to you, and then we can kind of have a conversation about where we should be with the budget from there. You know, do you really love this, or can we replace this or find an alternate or something like that? And in so doing, I really get people to see the grand vision, and they typically want the grand vision and they'll pay for it. But you have to still
Yeah.
do that within reason. But you can't just go in and like show them a $200,000 bathroom that is going to be out of the realm of possibility for them. But you have to kind of do that with a genuine care and genuine attention and really listening to what their needs are. So it has to come from a place of genuine, authentic care.
I'm really inspired by how you have adapted your services to different levels of clients. Shaun and I get in like debates on services and different things that we put on our websites all the time, which is awesome because it helps us learn about us as individuals and how we each want our individual business to run. And every designer can have a completely different type of business in this industry, which I think is really cool. But I definitely do want to find a way to service more mid-budget clients without killing myself,
right,
and getting overwhelmed.
And it's a good point you're making, because what I do is not for everybody. As you mentioned earlier, I don't have little kids. My younger one is 18. He's turning 19 in November. So I have the luxury of time that maybe somebody else doesn't have. So I can take on, smaller projects that I can knock out in a couple weeks or something like that. So it's not for everybody, but I think, as you said, it's being an entrepreneur, we can do whatever really feels right to us. Pick whatever it is that works for you. So maybe you just want to cater to the luxury market and you just really want to attract those clients. That's okay too. As long as you're doing whatever you're doing in authenticity, I think it's fine. For me, it's a passion of mine. It's something that appeals to me. I enjoy that. I love sitting down with that client and then getting them to see what interior design is all about, and they no longer have this misinformation that they got from television. So so that drives me, and so it doesn't have to drive anybody else,
Right. And just to be able to meet different people and different experiences. I guess I get like, I don't know, I want just like normal people, to get a taste of design, to feel empowered by the experience. But that means like I don't give full service. I don't handhold the whole time, but I'm still working on that. I said like my first year of business was like I was like eating from the buffet line of interior design. Like I just tried everything.
Whatever there was.
Yeah.
Which I think is good.
I think people should try different services. I used to have, I stopped offering color consultations altogether. So that's been taken down from my website, and I no longer offer staging services. So because after a while, I just realized that, I just wasn't really passionate about those things. Color consultations, because for me, color is such a big deal that I don't want people just calling me in to just pick out paint colors for them. I really want it to be a part of an overall plan for their home. And
Well,
so
and your
'cause
design is so layered. It's not just paint on the wall. Like you need
and
a
it's always
lot of.
neutral. You go do a color consultation without any other elements, all you're doing is picking out neutrals. And not to say neutrals are bad, but I'm just like, I'm not a neutral girl,
Yeah. And they
No,
may
you're
not, and I think
I'm
too,
not
like,
either.
what are you getting out of your, like,
Yeah.
creatively, it's just like, well, here's my favorite white again, or here's my favorite beige. Like, it's like, that's not creatively getting you. But if someone says, I really want this awesome, peacock colored, peacock blue room, and then your mind can't hold back from wanting to see more of it come together. You're like, hold on, like, we could use this as a huge jumping off point. And if I only get to just pick a color.
What about patterns and textures and
yeah
so much more than that. So
you need all the things.
I kind of don't do those anymore unless it's like a client that I've worked with before or they're working on something that's beyond that. So, case by case, I guess, but in general, I'm not taking any more of those clients.
Okay, that's good. That's good that you're you do have like things that you're still adjusting. It's good to know that it's okay to still adjust, even
it's
like
not just us.
you're deep into their business.
Yeah, it's a living, breathing thing that we're doing here. It's like raising a child.
Yeah, I did have a client.
Oh,
I was gonna say, I had a client who asked for something, like, I created a big proposal and they were like, oh, we were thinking maybe not to that level. I think they realized, like, the plans they wanted to accomplish were going to eat a lot more of their budget, and having me go from concept to completion was going to take away from that. And I did go back. I mean, I went back and I said, well, this would be kind of more where it could fit. Like, here are some things that I could accomplish and get to you. And it ended up being more like an e-design option, which I haven't done tons of, but even more so now, I feel like there's more inquiries around it. And I've been adapting to that of, well, I didn't used to want to do this or really offer this, but now I have, at least it's pressed me to create some organized thoughts around the offering. And I don't see myself, like you're saying, as, oh, it's not really what I want to do. In the future, I don't think it'll be something I want to continue to do, but at least I've got something solid around it. And then in the future, if projects move away from it or it feels unfulfilling, I don't want to resent doing those projects. So it might be something I retire and maybe it comes back down the road. Like,
I agree. I mean, like I said, you do it sometimes because e-design, a lot of designers are doing it a little bit more now because we're having to do things virtually more, instead of face to face. I still enjoy doing e-designs up to a certain point. For me though, whenever I'm sitting down with a client who's asking for e-design, I really, really educate them on this. I'm like, okay, so let's kind of get you, let's explain what this is about. You're going to be doing all of the work that I was supposed to be doing that you're not paying me for. Okay.
Right.
Yes, I can give you a plan. I'm going to even give you a shopping list. So it sounds easy up front, but here's what you're going to be doing. You have to wait for all these deliveries and you have to make sure everything's assembled and placed and fluffed and whatever and damaged.
And all the cardboard and styrofoam. And
I know. I even tell them about the cardboard. Thank you. And so sometimes once you explain that, they're like, it's probably worth another I'll pay you the extra $5,000 to finish this out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that works. But on the other hand, I will have clients who wanted me to do full service for them, and after kind of exploring all the different options, and they realize they just cannot afford to pay the full fees, or their project budget won't go as far as they want it to go, and they still want me to be that designer for them, then I will suggest an e-design and work with them that way. So a lot of my I call them my rejections because they rejected the full service, but they end up working with me for e-design. And because to me, again, it's all about servicing somebody's needs and serving people, really. And they just want you to be the designer in whatever capacity that helps them.
When you do e-design, do you ever source trade furniture or like order sofas, or is it just all retail?
All retail. I don't get involved with anything that I have to manage, just because for me, there's a whole process built around selling products. and it has to be profitable for me to even mess with it. And eDesign just doesn't do that. And I just don't want to get pulled into other aspects of it. You know, I just want it to be clean. Here's what you get, and it's done. My commitment is over here, you know.
Yeah.
So
there's no like, oh, can you step in? This order got complicated.
Yeah.
You're like, no, it was all or nothing. Like, I'm doing all of it, and I'm gonna make money off of it, or I'm not doing anything.
I always get tempted with upholstery because it's like easy,
especially upholstery, actually, because upholstery can end up keeping somebody in your life forever if you know.
You're right. You're true.
Now, and
she's speaking the truth right now.
It's totally true.
But you think like, oh, there's this huge margin that I could build into something,
right?
Which
and
is
I could
enticing.
get a better quality than they're gonna get at Pottery Barn or whatever.
Right, but
the best I will say for that is to maybe do affiliate marketing, which I still don't even mess with affiliate marketing too much because I just can't be bothered with it, honestly. But you know, that's one way to get even a small percentage. But I don't even set those up. I just kind of get it out of the way and done.
Yeah,
I mean, you can still give them. You can give them the specs of like, here's the size sofa and the type of color and the style that I think is really going to work here, and then they're gonna. You gave them enough to get a nice result from it.
For eDesign, I give them I source an actual sofa for them. I source everything with a shopping link and say,
click it and buy it.
Go buy this now.
And you don't put affiliate links in those shopping lists?
I should, but I don't.
Should.
I should, right?
Even if it just scrapes a few bucks off of each one, it's like a few bucks that you wouldn't have had. But we both, I think I'm a little further into experimenting it with eDesign clients, and I've been encouraging Rebecca because sometimes if they have different programs on their computer that give them other discounts, it negates our affiliate link discount and then it takes the commission away. But I'm like, well, I wouldn't have got this anyway. So if it scrapes a few bucks from each order and I get something out of it for not having to manage the order, I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah. I think it's okay to do that. Like anybody listening right now, set up your affiliate links. Don't do what I do. I just got lazy on that end.
Hey,
you have to get it set up. Like it's definitely like once you get set up, I think it's a little easier, but you gotta it's a whole process.
There's a whole thing around it. Yeah.
That might be a good episode, actually.
Talk about affiliate links.
Yeah. Affiliate marketing.
Yeah, there's more. There's a lot that's not talked about around it, and then there's a lot of noise. I think that's where I have trouble in design is as we're running a business and all these things come up because we've done so many roles and we're in marketing and we're in social media and we're in all of this. There's so much noise and information out there that it's nice to be able to have a few trusted sources. And that's kind of like the value add of having a couple credible coaches or websites or things that you can refer back to on a blog that just make our jobs a little bit easier so we don't have to filter through so much of it.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Do you think lately there's a really popular service that you've been seeing or hearing from people, Veronica?
Well, I think a lot of virtual consultations are happening right now. In the COVID age, I hate to say that, but it's a thing now. Virtual consultations are big. I actually launched that. I've always had it, but I didn't really advertise it or anything. And I put that out there. And so, especially I'd say probably within the last 2 months, I've gotten quite a few clients just wanting, hey, can I just book something with you? We'll talk through the space. We can even do like a FaceTime thing and you can see it and just get some ideas from you. So so that's been a service that I see a lot of designers posting up on their websites right now.
Do you add any kind of like I know you do, like, I don't know if you still do like your power hour where like you would do like real-time shopping with them. Do you do any of that in your virtual stuff?
I kind of cut back on that, and I have everything under just I call it my designer and call umbrella now. So basically I just buy a block of time, a minimum of 10 hours, and then we can just use that for things like that now. So I used to have that as a separate thing because the designer on call was basically geared towards people who were doing renovations, and they were managing their entire renovations themselves, but they kind of need a little help here and there. So it was specifically for that. But now I just kind of have everything under that umbrella. That's just, hey, I need some guidance with this, or help me with some furniture selections for that, or something like that. So, so yeah.
How do you manage? How do you manage your time doing designer on call? Because I played with it and I totally think I did it wrong for me.
So I mean, I keep like, they have to sign a contract that literally says, and I was a little bit of a mama bear in that one, because it was just like, this is absolutely not included in the service. Like, you cannot like be out shopping and texting me. Of course, I put it nicely worded and everything.
Yeah.
Everything still has to be done on a very very contained, very structured. So you sit at your computer, you send me an email with pictures and everything, and they understand that they're really just getting my advice and opinion on something based on what I can see. I have not taken measurements myself. I've not done all of that. So they understand that they're not getting the full designer Veronica. They're not getting my full design brain. They're just getting bits and pieces of it when they send me information, because they're paying less for that. So I make it very, very clear. And of course, you know, I track time as I do that in increments of, you know, 5 minutes. But you have to be very, very clear about what they get and what they don't get with that service.
Do you let them just send you random emails whenever, or do you kind of try to corral it into?
Yeah, so I have them upload. There is in my the CRM system that I use, they can message me in there, and so I keep all those emails contained in that program, just so I'm not getting emails in my regular email. And that's where I track all the time, and I put all their here's information on this, or answer questions. So, you know, because otherwise,
do you batch your time?
Yeah,
like when you do that?
Yeah.
So like, do you only go in and message
like once a week,
every couple days, or a week?
So whenever I get an email from that client, I set aside time for that particular client. So let's say I got an email, you know, I got a message yesterday. You know, I try to make time the next day, at least the next day, within 24 hours to respond to their messages. So I try to be very, you know, what's the
timely.
Timely. Yeah, exactly. So I don't, you know, because they're still paying for the service, but at the same time, the name designer on call would kind of indicate that you can just call me at midnight and I'll be there for you. It's not like that. So yeah, I'm very
it's like you're not accepting texts from them and all the things that I was doing.
Right.
But they're prepaying. They're prepaying for that block of time.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're sending invoices and worrying about not being paid for it. It's I've already been paid up front, but I'm going to control. Rebecca knows I like boundaries. So I like that idea of like, I will respond within this amount of time, but it will not be through these things. Or group your ideas together, because also there's economies of scale or efficiencies of scale of, if you send me an email once every day and it's, you know, a 15-minute response, or I could look at 5 emails on one day for you and get through them even faster. Or we could, now it's like we could schedule a Zoom call and you can pull up your thoughts. And
that's what I want to do. I want to turn it into like once a week, like we have a call or something. And
like they go, but if they're doing renovations, it makes sense where they'd want to hit you faster, because it's like my contractor wants to know what grout colors I like, and you're like, let me get out my sample deck, and you've sent me pictures of your tile, and I'll tell you to pick between 2 or 3 grout colors, or that's the type of little stuff.
Yeah, and it's really, and I make a point to explain up front that this is really for clients who have a pretty good handle of what they want. They're comfortable, you know, going out there and, you know, pulling things together, but they just need a second set of eyes on it. So it's really not for the person who is clueless about what they're doing. So I'm very diligent about interviewing them up front and like really explain to me what your needs are and how you prefer to work and how comfortable you are with doing some of this yourself, because a lot of it is really them still working. They're just they're consulting with me just to approve or not approve their choices. So a lot of times they're making their own choices. But, you know, a lot of times I'm, you know, hey, I think this is a nice sofa for this room, or, you know, so I'm helping them to actually source some items. So, you know, but it cannot be a client who's using that service to replace a full service. And they're like actively utilizing your time every single day.
Yeah.
you have to kind of, call them out on it in fact, my contract says if I see that it's being misused, we'll have a conversation, because it's not meant for that purpose. It's really meant for, I'm alongside you, I'm next to you, kind of helping you and guiding you through some of your own decisions, but it's not me providing that full service design, brain like
concept.
I would
And
Yeah. You're not going to be creating construction drawings for them out of
right,
that
yeah,
10 hours. It's like,
exactly.
no,
Yeah.
don't hire me for these like a la carte tasks for your big project. Like,
Right.
if that's the case, then let's talk about bringing on a bigger project and a bigger retainer.
Mm-hmm.
But you also provide different a la carte services that I was wondering, like, how often those turn into bigger projects, like plan reviews and
Yes, so I prefer, like when I'm doing remodeling projects, I'm not a huge fan of big major remodeling projects because they drag out forever and there's just
Mm-hmm.
so many hands involved. And not, I'm very good at collaborating, but you know how that goes when you're working with different contractors and people and all that. So I like to break it out in different phases, and clients can choose to hire me for, a couple of the phases or not. So I prefer to kind of break it out like that, just so they have that option, because I prefer that option, honestly. I like doing the plan reviews. I like doing the material selections. And then if, I'm not a huge fan of the, managing the tradespeople part. But if they're looking for, products afterwards, if they're looking for furnishings as well, then of course I want to stay involved with the entire process, and that's when my full service kicks in. But if it's just a renovation that they need my help with, I give them that option to a la carte it. Yeah.
So these a la cartes are mostly for renovations where you're popping in where you feel like you can add the most value for them.
Yeah.
And then your full service is mostly on the decor and furnishing.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that makes sense.
I think it's good. It's fun to be able to come in and provide like that designer touch on materials when they're building something, or like yours, like plan review. That's a stage where I find that if I'm involved during some of that, or if it's like they have their architect, but they're just like, we need a designer's touch on this, because usually with architects, it's like a billion can lights or like recessed lighting everywhere. And then I'm like, let's throw in some dimmers and maybe some sconces instead of all overhead airport like lighting. And even like for a lot of, that's where they're just like, thank God, because otherwise it would have just been this like hospital-like atmosphere in my home, and I want it to feel calm in this room and this in another room. And that's
Or
something that's really
yesterday
valuable.
I went to a consult for it's just a DIY consultation, and they're working on this huge renovation, and we were walking through their master bathroom, and they had questions on finishes, like just some ideas on finishes for them. Like, okay, well, I see your plumbing fixtures and your lighting. What kind of finishes are you using for your like bath towel hardware? And they're like, oh my God, we have nowhere to hang our towels. Like,
Oh no,
the architect didn't think about it, and they
even like plugs, like, I mean, can you put,
yes.
a plug here, we want to do some lamps. So, I mean, I think it's so important for, people who are working with architects to like really bring in a designer to take a look at those plans, because we keep their lifestyle and the way they're going to use the home daily in mind, and help them to, just like Shaun said, we don't want the big stadium lights in there. We want to make sure the light is moody, or you can dim it or whatever for the different ambiance that you want. So it's so important.
You don't want to hang your towels over the toilet, like that's the
yeah.
only wall left.
That's a
like,
big one. That's a big
good...
one. Like shower doors opening and the towels are behind the shower door, and I'm like, well, that's useless. Like, but that's it. It comes in too late. It's like, well,
over the glass.
We need a towel rack, so now this is our only option left. Versus the expertise that we can offer at different stages. It's valuable, and it might be what's striking me, Veronica, about what you're saying about like designer on call or something, is that in where right now I might offer it as a standalone consultation, sometimes that 2-hour consult just is not, it's not enough. You can't accomplish everything during that. And now you're making me think back on that. And then I changed my discovery call after reading your thoughts on why not just give people 30 minutes.
Oh yes, you saw that.
And And I did it because I started using Acuity and I added the like book now option because I'm like, yeah, why not be more accessible? Like, what's the harm of doing more and being available to people when they're curious or they're on the internet late at night and I'm not available, but they can still get to me. And part of that was this discovery call of like, oh, here's 15 minutes. And yeah, a lot of them are pretty quick, but for those some clients who just need that extra high touch experience of feeling comfortable, like, okay, you're not a crazy person, that 30 minutes, I think, does give them a lot of confidence that you're a real person, you're listening.
And you can educate them.
Yeah, the biggest thing is that you're listening, and I'm glad you said that because, you know, I mean, and I don't knock anybody for 15 minutes, but I just kind of started observing that a lot of designers are doing, and I'm like, why not 30 minutes? Because on an average, my calls take me about 12 to, let's say, 20 minutes or so. So, you know, I mean, what if you don't want a client to ever feel like they're rushing through this, like, oh my gosh, I only have 15 minutes. Because they're already in a kind of mindset. If you're a really good designer, you're doing really good work, and they're seeing these luxury projects on your website, they're probably going to come into the equation with some mild feeling like, I wonder if I can afford this designer. I wonder if this design, you know, we're on the same level. So why not welcome them in and make them feel comfortable and make them feel listened to? And so just do the 30 minutes. I didn't quite understand 15 minutes, but that's just me. Do you have 15 minutes, Rebecca? Your face looks like you might have 15.
I have 15 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
it gives people more time.
I don't make them feel rushed when they're on the phone with me either. So if they need
it goes
more
over
to talk
and
about, it goes over. I'm not cutting anybody off ever. But I don't want 30 to turn into 45, I guess, is why I'm like, but you can have 15, and if it's 25 to 30, that's fine.
I think that's in the framing of in my framing when they're booking it, it says most of these calls last 15 to 20 minutes. Yeah. But we have up to 30. So and I think just even saying that is like, oh, there's some built-in generosity. And then when we get close to that 15, 20 minutes, I'll say something like, I want to be conscious of your time, or I want to just make sure, like, if I do have another call right after I need to get to, I just let them know. I said, I want to make sure I get to all your questions. We still have another 10 minutes. And it's not saying we only have 10 minutes. It's, we still have
bonus 10 minutes.
Let's use it. If you're
like bonus, right?
Like I've already set this aside for you. Like we still have 10 more minutes left. If you know, what's on your mind? What do you want to ask me about? And almost everybody has like one more question that they might have held on to until a consult, but it often is a question that they go, yeah, for sure, I'm going to have you come out now. I've had you do this, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to book the consult now. Because I feel that much more comfortable. And it's like that's the conversion we're looking for in client is, okay, one step closer to being involved with the project that helps us pay our bills and support our lifestyle. So if giving up, 30 minutes helps do that, for me, it still feels like a valuable trade. I recognize that for some designers, it may be hard to lose that extra time, especially if you're fielding a lot of phone calls.
Right. But, and again, I think it's good to make the point that for me, it's about conversion. It's not about eliminating people, and I think sometimes that mindset goes on, some designers have this mindset going into the phone call, like, well, they need 15 minutes just because I'm just trying to talk to them and test them out and see if they're a client for me. It's
like they're screening clients.
It's a screening. Exactly. For me, it's like my goal is trying to convert them into being a client. So, yes, generosity in your time and just actively listening and all that plays such a huge role in that. If I don't book them on that, because my goal is to book them for a consultation, because I truly believe that even after those 30 minutes, I never really get to know these clients fully until I go to the consultation. Even if they ask me off the wall questions, I've had people ask me about discounts and, things that would be red flags and things like that, and end up being some of the biggest high paying clients. So I don't eliminate people on that call unless we've kind of established that, okay, this is probably weird and we're not going to be a good fit, which never usually happens. It's usually
it has to rub you really the wrong way for you to say, I know. Never mind, wrong project. I'm sorry, I'm not the right fit for this.
Any of your dollars. Yeah.
I know. So again, yeah, it's important to kind of have that mindset going onto the call that, I'm really trying to bring this client into my pipeline. Why would I be trying to kick them out without getting to them first? So that's where my 30 minutes comes from too.
It's really,
Yeah,
it's
and I'm
helped.
trying to just like get them to consultation. I love doing one-time consultations. Like that's a big part of my business, and that's mostly where I'm meeting people where they are, where okay, we're not going to go beyond this. It's not going to work for either of us to go beyond, but I'll give you all of my thoughts and ideas in that 2 hours. And I just think it's really fun to be out in my community too, and I meet so many people that way, and you just never know who's going to refer you or
Yeah.
There's just think of one person as 10 people. Because there's a whole referral system and that can come out of that, just one interaction with you, where if you just treat people like, oh my goodness, you are worthy, and I was looking forward to working with you, too bad we couldn't work together because of XYZ, but at least they could see that you made an honest effort to work with them. So they will refer you like crazy, because they still think you are it. I get so many referrals I've never worked with just because of one small interaction we had.
And I think that's like the fun part of you would love working with her when a friend or a family or a business, whoever it is, says, oh, I'm working on that. Oh, you should have Veronica come in. Like I couldn't bring her on to my project or something, but I really think you would like working with her. She'd be great. I think that removes that first layer of insecurity about bringing in this stranger, and design is very ambiguous. So if they have that personal reference for it of someone who actually liked talking with you, having you in their home, sharing ideas, and they can reinforce that value, it speaks way more volume than just go look at her website again. It's
right.
Having someone who personally referred it is much more powerful. I mean, testimonial is just a key part of our business.
Such a personal experience. Like we're in people's homes. Like
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your experiences with One Room Challenge. I think that maybe how I first found you, and I always write this on your Instagram. You have the best photo of any like reveal photo I've ever seen, with you lounging in that bathtub. Like it's my favorite. It's so good.
Goodness, yes. So, which weirdly enough, that bathroom was not done for the One Room Challenge. It was done at the same time. Well, my bedroom was, and because my bedroom it's connected to the bathroom, so I just did them both at the same time. So that
right, okay.
Time. But yeah, the One Room Challenge has kind of become, I don't know how to explain it. I just have this loyalty and this, strong feelings towards it. I started, I think the first one I did was in 2013. And I did a little small dining room thing I had in my first studio space. And I didn't even have professional photography of that because it was not that great. And I just believed in the community of it. And Linda, the founder, she was just so generous. And I just wanted to be a part of that and building that community, And so it helped me to be able to do some of the projects in my own home, even though I've never been one of those designers to like, oh, I haven't done any projects in my home. I can't decide. I hear that's way too much, but I've always done my own projects. But that was just a way for me to kind of build an audience and bring people along on the journey with me. And it really didn't even start out as necessarily marketing until maybe the third one. I realized the marketing power of it. It was more about just getting people to know who I was. And so I've done 8 altogether.
You've done 8. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
And so 2 of them I was chosen as the designer. And I know you were one of them, the designer too. I loved your space, by the way, Rebecca.
Thank you.
And so the master bedroom was one as a feature designer. And which one was it? My laundry room.
Your laundry room.
Me. I mean, people like, oh, your laundry room. I'm like, you've seen that laundry room. Okay, can we talk about something else? It's like,
yeah. I mean, talk about though maximizing your space, like just with.
Oh my goodness. I myself was shocked that I was able to get so much space out of that little tiny room. It's still
so much like glamour and like beautiful finishes and texture. I know I always talk about One Room Challenge with like designers that I know, and I think people like don't see or working designers don't always see the opportunity of it because they're I'm not an influencer or I'm not a DIYer. But to me, you can do it. You don't have to be all those things to still connect and build community and just like really have fun in a space. Like,
I think it's just fun to do. I mean, if I could do it every season, I would, because for me, it's always fun. I actually even love the whole, oh my gosh, am I going to make it? Am I going to make it? And then you make it. And
it's like a game show.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, it's like, just like when I do show houses, I want it to be as memorable as possible. And so this is my opportunity to go crazy with things that, you know, clients probably are not going to let me do this, but I'm going to do it in the one room challenge. So yeah, it's just been all those things for me. And I told Linda not too long ago that, yeah, you have me for a while. I'm probably going to be doing this until I retire from this career. So we'll see. I was planning to do it this fall. But no, I'm not doing it this fall.
You're not doing it in fall?
Yeah, well, I was thinking of it, and I'm like, nah, I don't really have a real space to do right now because I was going to do my backyard, but I'm working on some other projects right now that just like my mind's not there, but I wish I could.
You'll be back in the spring.
Yeah.
Still on the fence. Yeah, and it's like I think in our own homes we don't always get them photo finished, so that's my favorite thing to like get it not only done, but just accessorized, ready for photography, done.
Yep. And
we can be daring.
Great way to build portfolio because a lot of designers, like you mentioned, they, you know, hey, I don't have a big portfolio or whatever. It's such an amazing opportunity to really showcase your design point of view, because for me, that's how I was able to show the world, listen, I love maximalist design. I can do this. I can execute it well. And now clients are asking for it. And even when clients are, they're impressed by the spaces, they don't necessarily want it, but they're impressed with it. They're hiring me based on that. And that's how I had the opportunity to show the world. So I think it's so important.
Most of my portfolio happens to be my house for one room challenges. I'm not ashamed.
It's a great thing. No shame in that. Absolutely not. Yeah.
People are asking for the unique things that they see us do. And if you don't have a daring client that's going to do those things, it's okay, you be the daring one and show them like it's possible, we can accomplish this, we can do this.
And that's what I want to attract more of. So I want to put out the things on my portfolio that I want more of, and they don't have to be exactly like my house, but it's just putting that point of view out there that this is what a wild wallpaper can do, and
let's try it.
Fun.
The funny thing is I do have clients who hire me and like, Veronica, I don't want any color or pattern or whatever. They say that to me and I'm like, why did you hire me? And they're like, well, I mean, I can see the execution. You obviously can do this well if you're able to make this crazy, you know what I mean? They've seen this crazy room look not crazy. So people will see that and just realize that you have to kind of know what you're doing to pull that off, you know?
That's true.
So, yeah, it really does help to push you out there. And the one room challenge gets so many eyeballs anyway that you really want to be a part of it.
Totally. And that's Shaun and I always say that's how we met. We met through one room challenge and our DMs and
it's part of our DNA now. And I have been noticing a lot of other designers joining, because I feel like at the outset it felt a lot more like design enthusiasts or hobbyists, and that's still part of it. Like the blogger nature is all still there, but there are a lot of designers joining, and a lot of those enthusiasts or bloggers have now developed design businesses and they're still involved in it. And I think that really speaks to the importance of the only way to get going is to just start with something, and there's never a magical time to make that project happen or do that interesting design, or just start with one thing.
Except for build. April and October every year.
That is a magic. It is a magic time.
That's the magical time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Shaun, have you signed up for the Hot Young Designers Club newsletter?
Oh, no.
Really? Is this you not wanting to clutter your inbox with a lot of excess junk?
No. Let me do it. Where do I need to go?
You need to go to hotyoungdesignersclub.com, scroll down until you get to the subscribe button. You just pop in your email address and your name.
All right, I'm doing it right now. Is this going to be a bunch of spam?
It's not. It's actually not going to be anything until we actually get around to sending something. But we have big plans and we want to be able to send surveys to get feedback from our audience. And maybe once in a while, a special surprise or a recap.
All right, I'm on it.
Thank you. Back to the show. Should we ask her our advice question from our listener?
Yeah, we had a listener question, and we feel like it's great for you because you're sort of an expert in some of this, where I'll read you what the listener wrote and then just see what you think about it. So Lauren wrote that she says, I feel like I'm uniquely having issues with discovery calls. Like I know what to talk about and the point of them, but I feel like I'm way more charismatic and can lock prospective clients in during in-person consults rather than on a phone call. And she says, or maybe it's because of the pandemic and people who are reaching out now versus pre-pandemic, but the turnover or conversion rate is higher when she's doing in-person consults. Mm-hmm. She says 9 times out of 10, if I meet with a potential client in the home, they become a real client. And since I've been doing discovery calls starting in March of this year, she says my turnover rate has been 0. So I guess Rebecca and I kind of reflected on, are we considering this more like tire kicking? But we'd love to hear your thoughts on she said, what she shared.
Yeah, so I will say to her that it's not just her. I even, because I have a very tailored system of, bringing clients in and having them book their discovery calls. But I'm getting, for the first time, people who are, probably about 2 or so weeks ago, I had one client that didn't even show up at all for the discovery call. Like I called and the number didn't even go anywhere. At another one who forgot the discovery call. We ended up having a conversation, but she forgot that we were scheduled. So it's I think more is people are home right now and they're a little bit tired of the what they're seeing and they're ready for something to happen. And so I find that I'm getting a lot more of those. People were not necessarily, they're just exploring right now. They didn't spend the time doing the research like my typical clients normally do. A few of them are coming from Instagram, which, Instagram, I find that they kind of just look at the pretty pictures in your feed and they don't jump over to the website to further check you out. Because Google continues to be my number one traffic source for clients who are serious and ready to work with me because they've spent the time exploring my website and understanding who I am. So with that said, I think for her, she should understand it. I think it's just a time that we're in right now. But I still, once I get them on the phone, I still make it a point, bring out that charisma, translate it somehow into that phone conversation. Some of the same questions, I make it very, I'm not going to say entertaining, but I laugh with the clients a lot when they say something that might be funny, or I tell them, oh, yeah, you're not the only one who's experiencing that. A lot of my clients express this to me, but we have solutions for that. Always kind of bring them back to that value that you're going to bring. Yeah. I find that I get to the consultation. I'd say I'm getting some tire kickers, like I said, but I still have a good close rate for those. So you just have to be able to translate that now into phone conversations versus the in-person. But it's not unique to get some of those tire kickers right now. People are just kind of tired of their surroundings.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of our take on it, is there were, or at least from my perspective is, I've never really had that experience, but I've always been doing some type of call before a meeting, and it's never been 100% of every in-person consult turns into a project. Because I think some of it is just, it may not be the perfect fit, even if they love what I could do. I think it's less about they don't like me or they don't want to work with me after meeting me. It's just a lot of clients, they want to accomplish way more than what they want to be. And so they're like, well, we'd rather wait to start this until we can really do it right one time. Instead of knocking down our kitchen remodel budget in half, we would really rather keep it. We're going to need more time to prepare for it, or we're not in the place where we thought we could do all of it yet. But I've never had I never felt like it was just tire kickers having me out for a consult. Because, I mean, having to pay for that
Right.
consult,
Yeah.
it sort of reduces, like, you hope they're going to be somewhat serious.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they don't want me to prepare a proposal when I'm done with the meeting, but they still thought it was important to pay for my
Right.
service.
Oh yeah. So the tire kickers I was referring to is like once they're on the discovery call, that's where you identify the tire kickers these days. But once they pay for that consultation and you're out in their homes, typically I'm closing all of those for the most part, because again, once they've made that commitment and they're paying that money, they're more open and they're going to listen, and then you're educating them and helping them understand, and then you're going to deliver the right service to them, whether it's a full service or let's do this instead, or a consultancy or something like that. You convert them in some way.
Totally.
So I'm still finding that my closing rate is still very, very good once I get to the consultation. It's actual discovery calls that I'm finding I'm getting a lot more than normal, but they're not getting to the next stage, which is the consultation.
Yeah. And that might just be a sign of the times.
Yeah, I think it's
so maybe she needs to adjust her phone call and consultation like handoff, like what she's doing in each of those.
Yeah. But it's not, I mean, if she's saying that she's always been really, really good at converting, the face-to-face meetings, she should still kind of lean into that and make sure she's getting them to the consultations, and then she can, still work her magic. Sounds like she's good at what she's doing. Just keep at it. I mean,
that's like that's the selling point of when you tell a client during a discovery call, every time I go out for a consultation, I'm able to work on a project with that client. Like that's a selling point of like, if I want to make you feel more confident here, like if you're worried about what happens and what we're going to be able to create, I can tell you, like, every time I'm able to get to a client and be in their home, we can come up with some great ideas and it turns into a project that I can help them with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it might be, I mean, we've gone back and forth of, I think Rebecca and I have talked about this, like the idea of sharing more upfront to help people qualify whether they're kind of in the right zone. And I'm sort of running the first part of the experiment right now, which is I put some pricing details on my website in like a value-based pricing model to really show what clients or potential clients could expect. And then I think Rebecca's school of thought was not posting it up front.
Yeah.
I send it to them I have an automation that once they sign up for my contact form, it sends to them. So I capture at least their information first.
I still think, personally, because I have no problem with price. As you can see from my website, I have a lot of pricing on there for like things that I can flat fee. But as far as like getting clients to understand what budgets are, I still think it's more of a unique, important face-to-face conversation. While I'm very comfortable like giving them ranges for things, I don't know that I want to put it in a document and send it to them without talking to them and getting them to understand what's behind those numbers. Because when it comes to money, people, they're either hey, I'm comfortable talking about it, or hey, it's uncomfortable or awkward, or I don't know. I think it still needs to be a face-to-face conversation, and I give them that range right there in person at the consultation meetings, and we talk through like what to expect from a $3,000 sofa versus a $1,500 sofa. So we talk through all those different scenarios, but so I'd rather do it in person versus sending it out to them, because there's that conversation doesn't happen beyond seeing it on paper.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Should we hop into our burning questions?
Oh yeah, this is our new segment with our guests where we have 5 questions that we'll ask you in kind of a quick fire style, just to like get into your brain, get to know you a little bit better. And then our first question, in one sentence, how has your business changed as a result of COVID-19, Veronica?
One sentence, okay. Well, okay, so I wouldn't say my business hasn't changed really, because it was always set up for the lean times or the times when there is difficulty in the marketplace. But I will say that I'm very much more aware of my messaging to my clients, so that's changed a little bit. So I'm very much more cautious about the things I say, but I wouldn't say it's changed because of COVID.
That's awesome that you were already set up to be resilient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question number 2. What have you done for professional development recently that you recommend to our listeners? It could be a book, podcast, seminar, workshop.
So I've been reading a lot of books, business books, just not business books. And I'm developing my own courses and lessons for mentoring. And somehow whenever I do that, that just kind of opens my own sense of learning, because sometimes I have to go research something to elaborate on it, or, I'm presenting other resources as part of the lesson. So I kind of need to do a bit of research. So that's been helpful for me developing myself professionally. But I've been reading a couple books, Company of One, for example, because I'm still kind of a solo, do it alone. And, I'm trying to bring that whole mindset of I can be bigger in profits, but I don't have to have this huge team to be profitable, I guess.
Love that.
True. I'll have to check that one out.
Next book club.
Yeah, Paul Jarvis.
What's one design element that you've been drawn to lately? Materials or objects or finishes, anything?
Yeah. So this is not necessarily a design element, but it's shipping containers. I've been super intrigued and dying to do one as a home or as something.
Like a pool house or who knows what.
Yeah, like a pool. Yeah, exactly. Like a little shed in the backyard type thing that is a living space. So I've been it's actually been a few years. So I really should start pursuing that. So I'd love to get my hands on one of them and just turn it into a nice little space.
That's the spring one-room challenge.
There you go, backyard.
But you tend to have clients who might have a little more space. Like I'm in Greater Los Angeles, where a lot of the lots for homes are like postage stamps. So if you're in your area, there may be even more clients who could bring in something like that with larger lots or more space potentially.
So we have like deed restrictions here where you can't do certain things.
Yeah.
You can't keep containers in your yard. That's why I haven't done it for myself, because that was a big thing I was going to do a few years ago. That would stop me from doing it. So I'd have to find a client out in the country somewhere who can't do it. They don't have those restrictions.
More liberal building code requirements out there. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay, number 4. If you could live in the set of any TV show or movie, which would it be?
Beauty and the Beast. The animated for the books. I love the
library.
I don't know what it is about a library full of books that I just could stare at it all day. And so yes, I could live in that set.
Like light a fire, sit down in a wingback.
Yeah, exactly. And I
love smell. Like I feel like there's like a smell to those old books, like in a good musty good way. Well, that's fun.
What's one non-living object that you would save from your home in a fire?
Well, my books, because I have a whole collection of those. And well, 2. I'd save my books, and if I could save my toilet, I would.
What's so good? Wait, what's special about the toilet?
What is it?
My accent toilet in my bathroom. It's an automatic toilet, and I walk into the bathroom and it opens for me. His name is Charlie, so I named it because it deserved a name.
It's like the robot toilets where...
That sounds like maybe it is living.
Oh my goodness. The only thing it's missing is like voice. It should be able to talk to me, but everything else is there. So I think I'd try to save that. I'd find some way to unscrew it from the floor and save that.
That's amazing.
I feel like we are way behind the curve in the States, like, because I have a client right now I'm working with where the toilet was like the first thing they brought up at the initial consultation was, we are putting the super amazing lights, warm seat warmer, like it does and it has a little spray for like oils or whatever. Like it does everything. It's and they're like, that was the central thing. They said, whatever we do with the budget, this still has to make sure it fits as a line item in the budget. Like we need this, it needs so much power, it needs this. Like that was an initial conversation, and I feel like a lot of times people do not talk about how important that is, because it changes
cost per use, like use out of it.
You get tons of use. It gives you a lot of safety, comfort, and confidence almost. Like we don't need to go too far, but that's
let's not.
But that goes into the joy that designer could bring to a client's life, is you haven't lived until you have checked out this toilet. Like I love
Definitely
that.
a lifestyle upgrade.
Can you share with our listeners, Veronica, how they can work with you?
Okay, so my mentoring community is veronicasolomon.design. Solomon is all O's. .design, and from there I do one-on-one mentoring. I have courses available. I have products like templates that they can download, and I even have a forum. It's a subscription site that you can join and just be a part of the conversations that I have there on a weekly, monthly basis. And if it's a consumer listening, they can find me at veronicasolomon.com.
I see this picture of you in your bathtub.
I blame
with
my
your glass of wine.
I know. She made me do it. I was just like, isn't this weird? And she's like, no, do it.
I think it's indulgent, and we deserve stuff like that every once in a while.
It's the feeling. It's the feeling you want your clients to have. Like, it's amazing.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much, Veronica, for your time and being here with us and joining our hot young designer crew.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for having me. Like I said in the beginning, I feel so hot and young being a part of this. So thanks for inviting me.
You are.
Yeah,
and we'll have all your links in the show notes. So listeners, you can find more help from Veronica there.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining this meeting of the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
If you liked what you heard, please subscribe and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Check out the show notes there for links to things we talked about today.
We are keeping the conversation going on Instagram, so don't forget to like, comment, and follow at Hot Young Designers Club.
You can find Rebecca on Instagram at Studio Plum.
And you can find Shaun at Renstead Interiors. That's WRENSTED.